I want to show you now a very common tool in Photoshop that I use all the time for simple to complex Photoshop smile designs, and it's called Free Transform. How I can manipulate quite easily a layer in many different ways, and let me show you how I do that. So let's start first with really a simple rotation. We can see in this retracted view, or full face retracted cheeks view, that the image was taken with her face a little bit rotated. And we'd like to maybe rotate her face so it's straight up and down. I've drawn a couple lines, a vertical and a horizontal line, so you can see what I'm going to rotate to. Let's look over in the layers palette to the right. Layer 1 is the horizontal line, and layer 2 is the vertical line. I'm clicking on these little icons to turn them on and off. All right, now what we want to do is we want to rotate her face. Now her face is the background layer. To make a background layer a normal layer, which we're going to need to do to make it more editable, we're going to need to turn it into a normal layer. To do that, look in the layers palette. I'm going to double click on that layer, and a little window opens up, and it's going to ask me if I want to turn it into a new layer, essentially a normal layer, and I'll just click OK. I could name it anything I want to, and how you name it is one way is you just name it in that box that just came up, or I could double click here and name it face. We'll just leave it layer 0. All right, so we're going to Free Transform, which is in the Edit menu here, so I can do Edit, Free Transform, okay? Edit, Free Transform, and I want you to notice a box came up with some little active points around the box. And now I can use the Free Transform function. To get out of this or apply it, I'm going to push on the Enter or Return key. Now there's a hotkey, a quick way to get in there. It's Command or Control T. I'm going to push Command or Control T, and that will make it active too. That's the hotkey or fast way. Now let's look up here. You can see, let's look up in the right-hand corner here. You can see this little circle or semicircle. And when you see the semicircle or quarter circle, I'll move the mouse till I see a corner circle. That makes active now the rotation function. I'm going to click, hold the click, and then move the mouse, and I can rotate left or right. I can go into a complete circle. And then I'm just going to rotate visually till I see that her face is straight up and down. All right, so to fix a rotation, this is how you fix a rotation. All right. Now let's just say you would like to scale the image up and down. So we just fixed the rotation. All right. Now how you can scale? I can now change this size of this layer relative to other layers, and how you change a layer proportionately is I would come and grab one of these corners. Let's look in the upper right. See that double arrow there. And I put that on the double arrow. I'm going to hold down the Shift, Option, Alt if it's a PC. I'm going to click and drag in to the left or to the right, and that's going to grow or shrink the layer proportionately. Now you're going to need this skill later because we might grow or shrink teeth relative to the face, teeth that we bring in for the smile design. Then I let go of the mouse first, and I let go of the Shift and Option key. And that's how you would change the relationship proportionately of the layers. That's how you rotate, and that's how you change the size proportionally. In a second on another file, I'll show you how we distort the width and the length and other areas of the image. To apply now that transformation, that rotation, or a change in size, I hit the Enter or push on the Enter or Return key. That will now apply what I just did. Okay? That just applied it. Now let's go to another image here of teeth. So I'm going to bring that up, and I'm going to give you this image here of individual teeth, and then there's actually tracings in this image. You'll see this later in the smile design process. But let's just use this as an example here. Let's say tooth number 8 here. Well, let's say we brought in tooth number 8 into a smile design. Maybe we don't quite like tooth number 8 exactly as it is. We'd like to change it just a little bit. Okay, how would we do that? We're going to use the same skills we just did before. We need to highlight the layer of tooth number 8. Now how do we do that? Look over here at the right. On the layers palette, I'm going to click on the layer of tooth number 8 and it turns blue. That's telling you that it's active. And what I'm going to do is either go to Edit, Free Transform, edit down to Free Transform, or Command or Control T, and that box comes up. Now, to change it proportionately, again, I can put my mouse right on the corner there, that double arrow, Shift, Option, or Alt, and that now changes it proportionally, the size of the tooth relative to the other layers that might be there. Okay. Now, what if I want to actually just change the width or the height? Well, now I don't hold down the Shift or the Option or Alt key. I just grab one of the boxes on the side or the top, and I would, if I want to widen it, I grab it and go this way. Hold down the mouse and go left or right, let's just say. Or let's just say you want to lengthen the tooth just a little bit. I'll click and I'll drag from this box up here or on the incisal edge now. If you want to bodily move the tooth, you click and drag from the center. All right, let's say you wanted to move it over, or you want to move this layer over a little bit, this active layer. Or for fine movements, I'm using the arrow key, so right arrow, left arrow, up and down arrow. All right, so that would be how you would make little micro movements. Now let's just say that that's maybe the decision of the tooth. I'm going to show you where the position of the tooth. You wanted to make it a little longer. You wanted to change its aspect ratio. Now the other thing that the Free Transform tells you, once you move it just a little bit, it also tells you the height in millimeters, not real millimeters, but as far as digitally is concerned, I could grab the corner here and it tells you the height and width. So you can figure out the aspect ratio by doing a little bit of math. There's another extremely cool function that's attached to the Transform. With this active here, let's go up to the Edit menu. Let's look in the upper left. I'm going to click on the Edit, Transform, drop down to Transform, and go to Warp. There's no hotkey. I have to go Edit, Transform, Warp, and this grid comes up. And what this grid allows me to do, I can grab a line or any of these points or squares really, and it allows me to differentially change this box that my mouse is closest to. So I'm clicking and dragging on this little point, and I'm just sort of warping this area right here. So let's say that I want to have a little bit more of an open embrasure here. Maybe I want a little bit more of an S form here. Maybe I want to move this line angle. So I'm clicking and dragging. So it's differentially warping this area right here. So I can quickly customize an individual shape, something like that. So that's how I would use the warp tool. Okay, so I'm going to push Enter to apply that. And I just applied a shape right there. I just changed that shape. Now let's say you didn't like any of that and you wanted to undo it. If you forget, there's two ways to do it, the slow way, excuse me. Edit, undo, edit, undo. That'll go back the last step. Or the fast way is Command or Control on a PC Z. Now watch the screen, watch tooth number 8, Command or Control Z, and that's just going to go backwards whatever I just did last, which is Free Transform. So that's how I use Free Transform to rotate, to change the height and the width, and then you can also use the warp function on any layer. So remember, what has to be an active layer, and it can't be a background layer to use this function.